with that, we've got some interesting looks here for Street Fighter 6. We ended up getting some great stuff coming from a Game Informer. They had an exclusive sit down, of course, with the producers, and they had a first look at a very interesting style, right, controller style in Dynamic, which I think is it definitely something out of left field. Street Fighter 6 was already getting kind of criticized for the modern, right, and modern versus classic controls, right? They were like, oh, is there, one of the first talks with modern is like, oh, you can do this with these characters potentially, right? Because now you're no longer dealing with the execution, one button in a direction and such. Take that shit and turn it to 11, and we're talking like literally show up to, imagine you sitting down to do your match. You're sitting down, you got your controller ready, your opponent sits down, and all they have is like this joystick and like one button on the one side. Yeah. That's what can happen here. Dynamic is a new control scheme where literally the game chooses the routes you pick depending on you pressing this single button continuously. So, we've seen this in fighting games before, Dragon Ball, fucking Persona, all that stuff. Like, starting with a light, and if you connect it all the way through 4 times over, you end it with a super. Like, all right, the game checks. You have meter? Oh, you can end with a super or whatever and have an auto combo. Dynamic is kind of like a next level, like a kind of like a Super Saiyan version of it, because it also will, it deals with projectiles at certain distances, certain normals. What is it? Oh my god! Target combos are now a piece. Dragon impact, like it's all done by a single button. We actually got to see just the full on way as to how it works, as they were saying. Like Dynamic is in a sense is changes the behavior fluctuating on this current situation. It's all about the distance. So the game, depending on the distance that you're at, will determine what your character will do. This is just a casual's fucking dream. Like casual's fucking dream, and I'm gonna just be 100 right off the rip. I'm for it. I love it. It's awesome. I thought this was a great idea. I think this is because I'm looking at it at a sense of like this is not meant just for a second. Just turn off the competitive mindset. Don't worry about it and us, the fools that have been in arcades that that are born and bred. Whatever the real way, the classic way, whatever you want to call it, like this is meant for the casual audience, and I think this is a great system to do it because now you can create these funny moments. You can have your friends actually try to play. I mean, will they end up like still like winning? Like probably not, but maybe. I mean, shoot, you seen the one producer actually getting bodied, hilariously enough. I don't know if he was like milking it on, but
did you see? You can time it to just do an anti-air.
Oh, like yeah.
The game will know he's up there, so I'm going to just time it perfectly. And
yeah. I mean...
Or even when he did a fireball, it was focus attack or whatever that's drive impact.
Yeah, I mean, will it be competitively viable? Who fucking knows? If it is someone going to meme it and do it? Absolutely. Yes. Like, I can't wait for the first winner of tournament that's going to do it. It's going to be hilarious. Whoever wins it, they're just going to be like, I did with one button. Like anyone can win, right?
We banned simple mode.
Did you like in Marvel, right? Yeah. I forget if there was anything others like. Wasn't there a technical reason behind it, or was it just because it just wasn't gonna work out? Because it's by players, so technically you shouldn't have to ban it. It's really up to the player. I just can't remember if there was an exploit or something in it.
I think they would change it now because it is definitely player sensitive. But simple mode was this kind of aspect, but they didn't know how to implement it right for that game.
Yeah.
But then you have what is the other mode? I'm thinking, auto combos for Marvel Infinite, which were actually used competitively.
Yep.
But that was because it was like frame 1.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think this is gonna go that same route, to be honest. But the other side of it that I haven't seen any follow up on it, but this was from a posting on Reddit that was really interesting. This happened right before the dynamic controls were announced or shown off on Game Informers. On Reddit, Incendia123, this is about a week ago, stated, the flat damage on modern controls in Street Fighter 6. Where they stated that there is a damage difference between, classic and modern, meaning there's a trade-off, a further trade-off for using one mode versus the other. It goes on. The speculation that they don't plan on making modern even viable competitively either. But the goal is that I think that they're trying to have a. This is my opinion here. I think they're just trying to have a ladder that allows a casual to start from mashing to maybe directional buttons to then eventually graduating to classic controls. Like it's like they're trying to not make you start from down here and say classic is it's the hardest. It is the hardest, but it's not like where you have to start. You can start down here, and now you have an intermediate one with modern. They can go from dynamic to modern to classic as you level up as a player. So a casual kind of has a grading system that they can go. They can graduate to the next one, to the next level, and see if they can get them hooked to do it that way. But there are trade-offs though. So it's like. With dynamic, once again, I haven't checked if there's any follow-up on it, but if damage is another one, that's, the first thing that dynamic does, it takes away your full control in a situation. Like you're allowing the game, because of distance, to dictate the buttons to press. Will that always be the right button to press? Probably not in every situation, right? Like if you had a chance to whiff punish with a roundhouse versus trying to maybe, I don't know, with a medium kick, and the roundhouse could work, but the game always forces medium kick because of the distance, you're not playing as optimized, right? So what does once a casual makes that kind of that crosses that line, what are they gonna do? Like, well, is there any way for me to get that ability? Like, well, yeah, you can go to modern, where special moves are still simple, but now you have directions, right? You're not just pressing one button, but now you have full control over your normals, right? To the extent I can't remember exactly what happens when you have directions and normals coinciding with each other. I don't think there's an issue to my knowledge, but so now you let them step up to that kind of plateau of like, okay, well, now I have more buttons to deal with more situations, so they're leveling up naturally doing that. Then eventually, when they want to cross that final line to then just be able to have full control of whatever, to get full damage, full reward for their efforts, because remember, you're going from dynamic to modern. Modern still has a handicap where the damage is not all there. So you're leaving damage on the table because you're trading it off for, execution and such, right? Like for consistency from your execution, right? Now, if they want to then be like, well, I think I'm going to be pretty good. I can anti-air now. I can fireball now. I kind of understand the fun. I want to be able to get, to get all my damage. I want to, cash out as much as I can, because maybe there's certain situations they're going to come across where if they weren't in modern controls and did the exact same fireball, like in modern controls, it didn't kill, but in classic it did, because the flat damage would be different. So I'm like, I kind of see what Capcom's trying to do there in that sense with the controls. I like the concept. I just thought the change from just modern to classic was still a little bit much to ask. But now this dynamic shit is like, bro, if you want baby's first fucking fighting game, Street Fighter 6 can be the door to a lot of people.
Right.
And not in a bad way. Don't take baby like as if it's a bad fucking thing. I'm just saying, like, now you have the ability to level up, like from like literally nothing all the way to classic, and have something make you grow to the next step.
And I feel like this actually can help good players keep playing the game with their friends, especially if somebody's just like mashing and you're like, I gotta try to beat the game's AI that is reading my buttons, but at the same time, those players are going to. The players that are, using either modern or this dynamic mode are going to also plateau. They're going to say, man, I really want to do this move instead of whatever this move is telling me to do. Or I'm trying to do this more than I'm trying to do that in the modern controls. I need to learn classic. Like
exactly.
There's going to be a plateau.
Exactly. Like I think it's really like dynamic is going to be interesting because it's the casual audience, right? They want to capture the casual audience. So yes, we've had the conversation keeps going around like, oh, don't dumb down the game. The game's not dumbed down for us because we play in classic, right? If you want to play not dumbed down Street Fighter, you play classic.
Perfect example. Dumbing down of like Guilty Gear, where it's like getting rid of a lot of different moves, as compared to this game where there's a lot more moves on characters and not just 3 moves for Ryu or Ken. It's like you've got all these different little aspects into them and like how deep they can get. Like That's not really dumbed down. Like you can still play that same way.
The controls are dumbed down, but that's what they're attacking. They're attacking the controls because that's what's most out of the time intimidating the casual player. It's like, oh, I would love to play the game, but like I could barely, shoot and do this and aim. Well, you expect me to do this exact input at this quickly and do it all the time? But like, that's usually like the first thing. Once they hit that wall, they're already like, I'm out. Like it's straight casual. They won't play the game again or don't care about it. You won't see them invest time in it. So that means they're not investing in possible DLC or whatever.
Jury, I feel like is a completely different character. Just I don't know. I didn't use her in 5, so I don't know if she, from what I've seen,
she plays more like close.
It looks a little backwards.
She plays a little bit more like 4, but we could talk character specifics. But right now, like in terms of the controllers, I think
like controllers, yeah. I think I was actually like responding to what Gim Man said in the chat. You could play it like the OG Street Fighter.
Yes, exactly. Like that's the thing. So that's what these systems are here for. It isn't to make them break into competitive. I mean, sure that you want to convert your casual player into a competitive player because that means they're gonna spend more time on the game. Another user that's gonna keep up on it, pay the DLC, keep the game going and keep getting that recurring revenue from the game if you keep supporting it, right? That's like that's the holy grail. But we're always the small minority, right? We've stated it so many times on this show. The competitive scene is always the minority. So they need to be able to get to the casual, and sure, selling a bunch is fine, but then selling a bunch and retaining a bunch is kind of the goal. So you have to have these. That's where I feel like these controls are going. They're still there to reward those that are putting in the work. Hence the classic. You get the damage. You get the most. You literally have all utilization of all buttons at all times. Modern is like that right in between where it's like, okay, cool. You can trade in your damage and have consistency, and maybe some of your command normals aren't going to be the same because you're sacrificing those. Then you have your fucking baby's first fucking Street Fighter. Like jump in. You just want to get a feel for the game. You don't even have to put in that much time. You can just jump in and just fucking 4 or 5 hit combo into super, go for it. Like you don't even have to understand. You can just play and have fun. That's fine. But if you want to learn and get better, and you get that bite, that little bug, here's your route. That's how I see this all playing out, and I think Capcom is, at least the way they're working on Street Fighter 6 is like